I hear this all the time. Look, you just don't understand. AI is different. I've heard it when people talk about AI capex. Hey, it's public infrastructure. I've heard it when they talk about data center build-outs. We're just going to need them anyway. And I've heard it when they talk about GPU depreciation. Look, they're all still useful. The argument is always the same and has the same shape. Yes, there have been investment manias before. This time is different. John Templeton called that the most expensive sentence in the English language. But of course, every single mania on this chart was also backed by real technology. The canals were real, the railways were real, the internet was real. Being right about technology has never once protected anyone from a bust. So let's put the technology aside for a moment and go and talk about predictable cycles of boom and bust. The question is, historically, how long is the gap between trough and bust? Not will there be a bust, but how long will it take? The Bank for International Settlements has done the work. 4 major investment surges: Canal mania in the US in 1853, railway mania in Britain from 1843, the Roaring Twenties from the 1920s, and the Dotcom boom from 1995. All of these have been indexed to 100 at the pre-boom trough, all on a logarithmic scale, so you're comparing the rate of climb, not the absolute numbers. 4 booms, 4 busts, no exceptions. So the question isn't if there will be a bust, it's when. Take a look at this chart and look at when things start to flip. Railway mania peaks at year 4. The Roaring Twenties peak at year 5. The Dotcom peaks at year 5. And Canal mania holds on till year 5, 6 at the outside. The average time from trough to peak across all 4 is roughly 4 or 5 years. Now let's talk about the AI boom, which troughs in 2023. It's now 2026, we're at year 3. But look at the angle. In 3 years, the AI has climbed higher than the canal mania managed in 5, and higher than the railway mania ever managed at all. It's the steepest line in the chart by a wide margin, and it hasn't turned over yet. And if the historical pattern holds, the peak is 1 or 2 years away.
Nvidia has inked partnerships with 6 of the world's largest asset managers to source more than $500 billion in third-party financing for AI infrastructure. The Wall Street heavyweights joining the funding commitment include Apollo Global, Blackstone, Brookfield, BlackRock, KKR and Goldman Sachs. Under the terms of the deal, the groups will create dedicated pools of capital to finance Nvidia's AI ambitions at, quote, attractive rates for Nvidia customers. Executives from the 7 companies joined CNBC in a rare joint interview to discuss the announcement, with Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang hailing the partnership.
This is an extraordinary time, as you know, because this is the first time in some 60 years that the computing industry is going through a fundamental platform shift from the way that software was done before to the way that it's going to be done in the future, called artificial intelligence. Fundamentally, what's different about this industry and this way of doing computing is that the computer is now part of the infrastructure, like electricity, like the internet. And so you have to think about it like it's infrastructure and build it out accordingly. Every company will be powered by it. Every country will build it. And so we're talking about an extraordinarily significant infrastructure build.
In Britain, in 1843, interest rates are low. The economy is recovering and railways have just proven their worth commercially. The freight moves, passengers move, the technology is actually really good. So, of course, the capital floods in. By 1846, Parliament passed over 270 separate acts authorising new railway companies. Investment in railways reaches something in the order of 5 to 7% of British GDP. Ordinary middle-class families, clergymen, widows, shopkeepers, all put their savings into railway shares because everybody knows that railways are the future. And they were right, railway was the future. But then the Bank of England put up interest rates and that affected borrowing costs, and the share prices collapsed immediately. By 1850, railway shares were worth roughly a third of their peak. Hundreds of authorised lines were never built. George Hudson, the railway king, went down in an accounting scandal. Britain got its railway network and it's all still there, but the people who funded it got wiped out. Now run that analysis again 150 years later, the US in 1995. The internet's great. The money doesn't just go to website, it goes into infrastructure. telecom carriers spend hundreds of billions of dollars laying fibre optic cables across America because demand is obviously going to be infinite. 5 years to the peak. In March 2000, the Nasdaq falls about 78% over the next 2.5 years. WorldCom and Global Crossing go bankrupt. Amazon, a company that survived, a company that actually won, drops about 95%. But by 2002, something like 97% of the fibre in the ground was dark. It wasn't used. It was never carrying a single packet of data. And that's probably what's going to happen to data centers, unless, of course, pickleball becomes an Olympic sport. They're going to need all those building for something. People weren't wrong about the internet, but they were wrong about the timing of the demand. And that distinction cost more than $1 trillion. And the asset had a 30-year life. But ask yourself about GPUs. What is the actual useful life? It's probably 5 years before it burns out. People never said that technology was fake. The pattern was the technology succeeded, but the capital burned away because the capital arrived faster than the demand could absorb it. Being right about the future is not the same as being right about the schedule. Now let's apply that to today and notice that every time people say this time is different, the argument makes the situation much worse, not better. Railways were eventually used. Dark fibre eventually got used. But these GPUs will probably be obsolete. What's different this time is the scale of money and the accounting tricks used to fund it. It's way more concentrated, and a handful of firms are funding this increasingly through circular arrangements where the customer, the supplier, and the investor are the same three people.
To build out a portion of what they're doing. I guess the other part here is this continues to build around the risk story, circular financing, and some of the concentration risk that many have flagged within the industry, that actually if the life cycles of these GPUs are not as long as these companies are predicting, that could be an issue. If demand wanes, that could be an issue. So there's lots of ripple effects that could come as a impact of this if there's any kind of downturn as well. And that's the other portion of the story, I think.
The infrastructure does get built and the technology companies get their way, it's your organization that's going to be paying for that overhead. It has to be. That's how investment works. None of this should be a surprise, which is why the token price will only ever go in one direction, because people want their money back. It's the steepest line on the chart, the shortest asset life, the highest concentration, and based on history, the bust is only a few years away. And it may be the largest single investment plunge ever recorded. Now, I'm not giving you investment advice or telling you to do anything with your money. I'm just pointing out that this has happened before, and you'd be foolish to believe that this time things are different. I'm Dr. Earl Brandt, the founder of Kiraa. To find out how to get involved, jump on our website, connect with me on LinkedIn, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.